May 15th, 2011.
May 15th, 2011.
May 15th, 2011, Slave Lake, Alberta.
My day changed.
May 15th, 2011. It's definitely just tragic.
I'm not so certain that words can even describe that.
It was quite a day. Not something I ever want to go through again.
My name is Lexine Drew. I am a probation officer in Slave Lake.
My name is Wade Horton. I'm the District Fish and Wildlife Officer here for Slave Lake District.
My name's Linda Brewer, and I'm a library support worker at the college library at Northern Lakes College in Slave Lake.
My name is Jeremy Lindsay. I'm a Fish and Wildlife Officer here in Slave Lake.
My name's Rob Irwin, and I'm a town councillor in the town of Slave Lake.
We were always watching to the west, watching this big, huge plume of smoke building and building, and you knew it was a big fire.
7 o'clock in the morning on the 15th, I came into the Emergency Operations Center then, and everything looked really good at that point. They had substantial water bomber resources on hand in the community.
It was just sunny like any regular day when I woke up.
By the afternoon, we were starting to see very, very high wind gusts. We started to see the fire to the west of town really intensify.
When the wind started getting really big, like a lot stronger, and when I was kind of panicking, I thought the trees were going to break because the wind was so bad. I was by myself that day. I had nobody to really talk to in my house or anything. I'd have to go, outside and kind of ask what was going on.
My position that day was to act as security. At the main fire base or the fire center in town, a lot of people were coming in and out of there trying to find out what's going on, and it was distracting our staff. So we just kind of acted as an intercept for a lot of people.
My shift started at about 3 o'clock. Shortly after 4 o'clock, it was almost like a light switch. Wind switched to the west.
And that fire was driving quite quickly towards the town of Slave Lake.
My wife was getting really, really kind of antsy with this fire getting so close, and we decided, you know what, let's just, to be on the safe side, pack some things up. But we weren't really serious. Nothing's going to happen. This is a big town. The outskirts might be in danger, but the town will be safe.
My wife was in Edmonton on May 15th, so I had the kids for the weekend. And I had to run out at one point and get my kids from the northeast part of town, bring them over to the town office so that I could continue my duties in the Emergency Operations Center.
The winds were horrid, absolutely horrid, and in a matter of no time at all, we turned our concentrations from the west fire, turned around and started watching this fire.
A fire west of town, you got a fire east of town. You got fires up north.
You could just see everything building and building, and all the aircraft and the water bombers were getting closer and busier and closer and busier.
We're sitting there, we're watching, things are getting closer. The radio stations are saying, be aware, you may be asked to leave. Don't leave unless you're asked to leave. And within 3 minutes, we couldn't see across the street.
There was a radio call, I'll never forget, that said that the fire had breached town.
1 second it was good, and the next second it wasn't. Sirens everywhere, firefighters everywhere. There was a lot of communication problems, and we had to use our own smarts to figure out when it was time to leave.
So I was just kind of pacing the house, looking out the windows, and it just started getting really, really dark outside. You could hardly even breathe when you left the house. It was so smoky.
You could see the color changes in the smoke. Forest fires typically white, and these were big clouds of black smoke. And we couldn't see the sun. It was blackened right out.
The smoke just kind of laid over the yard, and we looked at each other and said, I think it's time to go.
It was just a steady stream of things that were starting to go wrong. The power went out initially for a short period of time. The radio station went out. Then we permanently lost power from both feeds, from east and west.
So we knew it had worked its way across town.
And that's the one that's on fire.
I see my son go running out of the front door of the town office, and he's got a bottle of water in his hand, and I'm wondering what the heck is he doing? And I see what he's doing. There's ornamental bark in the planters around the town office, and the ornamental bark is starting to light up. A member of Sustainable Resources Development came rushing into the town office and said, "Your roof is on fire. You've got to get out now."
Area residents are advised that for the duration of the emergency, local authorities may take any action it deems necessary to deal with the situation.
I felt huge responsibility signing that declaration of local state of emergency. When you declare a local state of emergency, you're saying that as a municipality, as a community, you no longer have the resources locally to deal with the problem. You're yelling out for help.
We have all of Slave Lake at the Walmart, and that's Slave Lake burning.
We had a duty to do. We were moving people to a safe zone. We could not leave. The Canadian Tire and Walmart parking lot was safe. It was a safe zone. Everything was blowing north of that. It was clear air. There was no fire near there. You can't go down the highway because there is no place to go. There's active fires all around. We talked about it lots afterwards. Sorry, guys. We had to help. Never thought about once leaving our post. We had to help. And we stayed. We didn't leave. We stayed. And we guided those people to where they needed to be.
I got in the vehicle, rolled everything up. Things were flying across the ground, and ashes and smoke, and it was just like a yellow, eerie haze, just dark. I couldn't really see in front of my car, and people had their headlights on, and I couldn't really see where the next person in front of me was. It was just that smoky. And then that's when I ended up going over to the helicopter place to go up in the air and go over my place and see what was happening with it. I was overwhelmed with feelings that I didn't know really what to think or say or act, or I just sat there, and I just remember seeing fire and smoke, but the flames were huge and the smoke was just, thick, and it was black. It just was all horrific to see it.
It's just insane.
And it's coming right this way. There's gonna be nothing more I can do other than get out of here.
There was no time to grab any items from your house. It happened right now.
Driving into it was actually quite astonishing. You've got smoke basically right to your windshield. Your emergency lights are activated, your siren's activated. You're moving as slow as you can because visibility is zero, and you're trying to get to a location where someone's supposedly stuck in their house. By the time we actually found the house number, it was fully engulfed with fire, and you're having to go in and basically clear the home to ensure that in fact that individual's gotten out.
Burning into fire. Motorhome's right there. At least we might have one home left.
What really struck me was the sounds in the community. Buildings collapsing, houses collapsing, propane tanks going off, car gas tanks exploding. Hearing the fire chewing up the community you've lived in for 20 years.
The one guy that actually was in my truck for a while, he's an RCMP officer out of Wabasca. A guy that went above and beyond, put his life at risk. And after it all, he had to shave his head because he had burn patches in his hair from embers.
We kept getting word of, this place is on fire and that place is on fire, and I couldn't even fathom what it was because I didn't know how the fire could have went all the way to the center of town.
With the winds blowing at up to 106 kilometers an hour, those embers were strewn right across town. It's almost like a spear point. It's just like the whole town has been stabbed in one side, going, all the way in, right through the heart of the community, all the way up to the other quadrant of town.
The firefighters, man oh man, you just went through, in my mind, what you'd call hell in only 4 or 5 hours.
We made the decision in conjunction with the RCMP to do a mandatory evacuation of the town of Slave Lake.
Then the fight was on, is to get everybody out as fast as we could.
Heading to the safer part of town. Fire is 50 meters.
We only have 3 exit zones in Slave Lake. Each one of them were blocked by fire. We had no place to go.
You can see everybody is in the gridlock here.
I had heard on a CB radio that the lineups had been turned around and they had been redirected a couple of times, and not knowing where to go or where to direct the people because just the fires on the other side of town were just too much that cars weren't allowed to go through.
Well, they made me leave. They said, you have to leave.
Then in less than an hour, they came back and said, Highway 2 is open. Anyone who can leave, please leave.
So I drove out of Slave Lake.
Well, we're making the run for it. The road's covered in fire suppression. Fire is burning on both sides of the highway.
It was blue sky on one side, you went through the smoke. It was like if there ever was a hell, you were driving into it.
Going into the inferno.
We could see the red glow underneath the smoke, and we could hear the pop, pop, pop. That was when I thought, I likely don't have a house to go back to.
When I was driving, the highways, like the cement was red and the trees were burning, just like a horror movie. Never seen where there was, the highway was stained red.
When we were in that lineup, the air it was almost like greasy black smoke. You could maybe see 3 cars ahead of you at times. Creep, 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 everybody's lights were on. Tons and tons of bumper-to-bumper traffic. But kind of surreal in a way because everybody was driving and polite.
People are waving the other person on. There was none of that sort of aggressiveness that you might see in sort of an evacuation. It was all very organized.
Looking back towards Slave Lake, it's a disaster.
All of us were moved out probably at about 1 o'clock or 1:30 in the morning.
Once the last people were on the buses to evacuating out of town, it was time I had to get my kids out of town. I left the community about 2:30 in the morning. I was quite convinced my home was gone. That whole section of town at that point was completely blanketed in thick black smoke, and you could see flame embedded in the smoke.
The highway by then was clear. There was no traffic on the highway at all heading east, but coming north it was fire truck after fire truck after fire truck coming up, so that was the day.
My youngest is Johanna. She's 9. She was very traumatized by this event.
I did see my house. It was on fire and it was going down, and there were other houses as well that were in that area. I had to turn off the video camera, and I just instantly just started bawling, just started crying because I just couldn't fathom the idea of what I had in there that's gone now.
It wasn't until the next day that I was 100% sure that my home was gone, because a friend of mine was able to take an aerial picture of the community, and there's my house right in the middle. So that's what happened to my house. It's gone.
There's nothing left. We lost the house and lost our car and lost the motorbikes, which we're still paying for, and lost everything. And well, we lost the provincial building too, so I lost my office. But my family's fine. My animals are fine. We still have our jobs. It'll be years before that lump in the throat is gone. But how I'm lucky, everything that can't be replaced is fine. Everything that we lost can be replaced. The fact of the matter is, everything that I have today is what I want. That's my family.
My home is okay. It survived the fire, but 732 families have lost their homes. But not only have they lost their homes, but they also lost their keepsakes, their mementos, their photographs. Essentially a quarter of our population is displaced in one way or another.
Just a lot of sentimental things that, you know, just gets a little bit emotional talking about it. Things my mom had made, and things that were passed down from my grandma to myself, and just a bunch of little things that, yeah, just, you can't replace them.
I can't say that I've really had a moment where I went, my house is gone and my life is ruined or anything like that. It's a matter of you deal with it, you move on.
Your home can be here one minute and gone the next. So it really changes sort of your whole outlook on life, and it forces you to look into what are the most important things in life.
I'm extremely lucky that I have what I do have and that I didn't lose anyone I love or anything like that. So I think in a way that kind of gives me strength.
There were over 20 of us at the college who lost our homes, our houses. I will say we didn't lose our homes, we lost our houses. And immediately after the news that there were people who had lost their houses in this fire, the staff of the campuses outside of Slave Lake got together and they went from campus to campus and cut, sewed, and quilted quilts, one for each of us who lost our homes.
I lost probably 8 or 10 quilts in that fire, but I got one back, you know, from a really family, you know.
We're living in a holiday trailer for the time being for the summer, but it's tough going from 1,500 square feet to a 26-foot holiday trailer, but we'll get through it. The important thing is that you still have your family. Puts things into perspective really quick.
The community lost its brand new library as well, including all the books that are in the library and the computer stations that people could use. It's had a massive impact on the community, and it's going to take many, many years to bring it back to something where it was.
There is no instruction manual on what to do after your town burns down. You know, there isn't a place to go and look to see what to do or what to do next.
There's good days, there's bad days after it. I get, you know, emotional after it, but I just feel like it's not settled yet. You know, I don't have a place to stay, and I've been in a hotel now for, you know, 2 months after the aftermath. What to do next?
The urgency is to get them into their own spaces, into their own temporary accommodations as quickly as possible so that they don't leave the community. We do not, as a town, have the capacity to, either financially or in terms of human resources, to do that. And again, we're reliant upon the provincial and federal governments to assist us.
We're pretty self-sufficient, and I think our town council are doing a phenomenal job right now, doing what they can. But if they do put their hand out, it's because they do need it.
You can't say the spirit of Slave Lake is any one thing right now. It's just a lot of everything.
This is our home, so yeah, we're going to rebuild, and this is where we're going to stay.
I intend to rebuild here. I intend to see what the future brings me here. When I moved to Slave Lake 10 years ago, I didn't expect Slave Lake was a place I would stay for a long time, but it kind of grows on you.
It's like a big family, I find, and get emotional talking about that, but it's been people that I never even knew before in my life have helped me out.
Everybody is affected by this, everybody. And we will rebuild as a community.
I truly believe that we will rebuild and we will be bigger and better than we were before the fire. May 15th, 2011. Fire, darkness,
Devastation.
Indecision.
fear,
And disbelief.
Gratefulness.
Family.
Courage.
Helpfulness. And faith.
That seems to be what I discover in life is when you need something, it presents itself. Not that we all needed a fire, but
We were here a couple weeks ago, right after it happened, and the basement was cleaned out. So there's just a small pile of rubble in the basement there. There was bits of burnt pages of a book all around the basement of the yard there. And on top, the one pile of rubble was a page that was burnt. And that page says, "The end." It was the end of the story. And that page was lying upwards on the rubble.
Closing time. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end.
Yeah, the cherry tree made it. That's our rebuild.